You live across the bay from Rio de Janeiro in Niterói, Brazil. It's hot, the kind of humid that sticks to your skin, and you've climbed a hill because you just want a breeze and some space to fly a kite. No ghosts, no conspiracies, just sky. The hill is called Vintém, Morro do Vintém. It rises above the sky like a quiet lookout. Scrubby paths, palm leaves, and a view that makes everything down below look small. You're focused up on the kite line in your hand when something on the ground makes you stop. Two bodies, side by side, lying on a bed of fresh cut palm leaves at the very top of the hill. They don't look like hikers. They're wearing formal suits, waterproof raincoats. Even though the storm has already rolled past, you move closer, their faces. At first, your brain says, oh, glasses. And then it catches up. Each man has a slab of dull gray metal covering his eyes, shaped roughly like sunglasses, but thick and solid. No lenses, no holes, just lead. Nearby, an almost empty bottle of mineral water, a packet of 2 towels, some cash, folded notes. The air smells wrong. High humidity and something that feels like it shouldn't be here at all. You back away, you go to the police, and without knowing it yet, you just walked into one of Brazil's strangest unsolved mysteries. Two electronics technicians who climbed a hill with lead masks, capsules, and cryptic instructions and never come back down. Did they die waiting for a signal from another world? Did someone poison them? Or did their own experiment kill them before they ever saw what they were looking for? Welcome to Coffee and Crime with Mom. I'm Zaylee, and today I'm driving this one. I'm taking us up that hill.
And I'm Nicole. I've got my coffee, my questions, and probably way too many feelings about this case.
We're talking about the lead mask case. 2 men, 1 hilltop in Brazil. Spiritism, DIY science, exploding experiments, possible UFOs, and an autopsy so catastrophically mishandled that the truth basically evaporated into the humidity. We're in Campos dos Goitacazes, city a few hours from Niterói. Niterói. 2 friends, Miguel Jose Viana, 34, and Manuel Pereira de Cruz, 32, run a small television and electronics repair shop out of a home workshop. They're not casual tinkerers. Miguel has taken electronics courses in Sao Paulo and even completed a correspondence course with an American school, the National Schools of Los Angeles. He kept in touch with technical institutes in California. They were serious about this stuff. Day to day, they're the guys you call when your TV is dead or your radio just coughs static. Both men are married, Miguel to Elsa and Manuel to Nelly, and are known in their communities as capable, trustworthy, and a little intense. But they're not just repairmen. They are also deeply involved in spiritism, specifically the Kardecist tradition that is hugely popular in Brazil. Mediums, seances, the idea that spirits can speak and guide the living, and they push it further. Friends and family describe them as part of a small circle that blended electronics with spiritual practice. Some called it scientific spiritualism, using devices, circuits, and eventually chemicals to try to reach non-human intelligences, spirits, maybe more. They're not just praying, they're building. At the center of this circle is a man they looked up to, Elcio Correia Gomes. Elcio is a radio technician and a spiritist medium. He claims to channel spirits named Dr. Paulo and Dr. Samuel. Through him, the group says they receive advice, diagnosis, instructions. Elcio is a kind of spiritual engineer. Never heard of that.
No.
Miguel and Manuel both have health issues. Miguel suffers from asthma. Manuel has chronic abdominal pain. They're looking for relief from medicine, from faith, from anything that might work. In the days right before their deaths, Miguel tells his family he's about to perform a very important experiment. He seems quiet, worried, like a man who knows a moment he's been waiting for has finally arrived.
The hilltop doesn't come out of nowhere. It's the climax of a series of experiments that grow more intense over time, and some of them literally explode. 3 months before the bodies are found on Vintém Hill, Miguel, Manuel, and Alicio take part in a nighttime experiment at Altafona Beach near Campos.
It's around 9 p.m. People are out, kids are watching a movie, the world is normal. Then a massive explosion happens.
Witnesses describe a flash that lights up the sky. The blast is heard 10 kilometers away. It shakes buildings, startles people in the movie theater, damages houses. Panic, rumors start running. People say a flying saucer crashed into the ocean. Detective Walter Fernandez goes to the beach. He smells sulfur. In the sand, he finds a track about 35 centimeters wide and 25 centimeters deep, like something heavy moved there or crashed.
The Brazilian Navy gets involved. They've been intercepting unauthorized radio transmissions with suspicious call signs near that beach. Now there's a huge explosion, and it's not just a weird local incident anymore. In the middle of it all, Miguel, Manuel, and Alicio.
A younger employee from their shop, Valdir Cordoso, says the three of them went there because Elcio invited them to watch something supernatural. He remembers Elcio running ahead toward the water. A huge red-purple light descends toward the surface. Elcio sprints back, shouting at them to flee and not look at it directly.
Valdir smells sulfur, but he doesn't remember hearing the blast the same way other people did. It's like they were right at the edge of whatever phenomena was happening. Close enough to be scared, but maybe not close enough to fully understand it. A month later, another homemade device, metal pipes and wires, explodes in Manuel's garden. There are photos of his father standing next to the twisted remains of whatever they built.
So now the pattern is clear. This group isn't just holding seances, they're building hardware, testing devices, chasing something big and uncontrolled.
6 days before their deaths, their experiments take a dramatic, almost apocalyptic turn. It's Friday, August 12, 1966. A neighbor named Fernando walks into their workshop and sees Miguel and Manuel hammering a lead pipe.
He asks, "What are you doing?" And they answer, "We are creating something that will prevent the end of the world in 1968, when the Great Cyclone will devastate a large part of our planet."
That's not a casual comment. It says they're not just tinkering. They believe they're working on something that could prevent catastrophe. A specific event in a specific year that they're convinced is coming. Their reading material backs up this grand sense of mission.
In their shop, police later find a heavily annotated copy of a book called Life on Planet Mars and the Flying Saucers, written by Hercilio. Maz claims it was dictated by a spirit named Ramatis. The book describes advanced Martian civilizations, flying discs, orange pink and salmon colored craft, bright auras of polarized light, and discs capable of disintegrating earthly vehicles. Daily, wait a second.
There are passages about intense luminosity associated with spirits, light so overwhelming you need protection. Investigators later lean on that idea to explain the lead mask. If you expect a blinding spiritual or extraterrestrial light and you're worried it might harm your eyes, you might shield them with improvised metal covers.
Elcio later tells police the Vintém Hill visit wasn't their first time making and using lead masks. He says they'd done an earlier experiment, make masks, go to a remote spot, wait for a bright light. Nothing happened. No light, no contact. Back at Manuel's house after the deaths, police find extra masks and lead cutouts. His wife Nellie confirms the masks found with the bodies were cut from that same lead pipe the day before they left. And when she asked, Manuel told her they were for work.
So by mid-August, Miguel and Manuel believe a devastating event is coming in 1968. They have already conducted explosive experiments. They have already made masks for an experiment involving a light. I don't know why I can't talk today. They're reading about intense luminosity and alien craft. They are working with a medium who claims spirits give instructions and they are manufacturing new lead masks. And Miguel is telling people the important experiment is finally about to happen. The final days unfold like scenes in a script. August 15, Miguel and Manuel take a bus towards Niterói, but at one stop, Manuel suddenly feels ill. They get off and return home. It looks like a first attempt that doesn't go through. Night of August 16th, Manuel wakes his wife, Nellie, and
Yeah.
tells her story. He and Miguel are going to Sao Paulo to buy a used car and electronic components.
He packs a significant amount of cash, at least 2.3 million cruzeros, and two towels. Friends have also given them money to bring back goods. The Sao Paulo trip never happens. It's a cover. August 17th, around 9 a.m., a friend, Lucio, drives them to the bus station. Lucio is there, seeing them off. They board a bus not to Sao Paulo, but to Niterói.
At one of the same stops where Manuel fell ill 2 days earlier, he gets sick again. This time, they keep going. They arrive in Niterói around 2:30 p.m. It's raining. First stop, Fluscop, an electronics store. They ask for specific Philips components the store doesn't carry. The owner remembers them as calm. They even invite him along to Sao Paulo. He declines.
When police later reconstruct their movement, there's about a 21-minute gap between the bus station and Fluscop, long enough for a stop at a spiritus center or another meeting. It's speculation, but the gap sits there, unresolved. Second stop, around 2:45 p.m., Casa Brasilla, a plastic store. They buy two waterproof raincoats. The staff remembers them as suddenly agitated and in a hurry. And notably, even though it's raining, they don't put the raincoats on.
Third stop, around 3:15 p.m., Merceria. Bar y Merceria Sao Jorge near the base of Vintém Hill. They buy a bottle of mineral water. The waitress remembers Miguel constantly checking his watch like a man with a firm appointment. They pay and wait for the receipt so they can reclaim the bottle deposit later. It's a tiny, practical detail that doesn't always show up in suicide narratives. Then they walk towards the trail and start climbing Vintém Hill.
Later, in Miguel's pocket, police find the note that feels like the spine of this story. 1630, be at the specified location. 1830, ingest capsules. After the effect, protect metals awaits signal mass. They reach the clearing around 4:30 p.m. That fits the 1630 be at the specified location line. They're where they're supposed to be.
There's also another note, a capsule schedule. Sunday, 1 capsule after meal. Monday, 1 capsule in the morning while fasting. Tuesday, 1 capsule after meal. Wednesday, 1 capsule when lying down. August 17th was a Wednesday.
So they've likely been ingesting capsules for several days, building up a final dose taken while lying down, which fits exactly with the ritual on a hill at dusk. Somewhere between the bar and the hill, a woman reports seeing a Jeep with 5 men parked near the trail and begin climbing as it gets darker. Whether those men are connected to Miguel and Manuel has never been proven. What we can see is this. By late afternoon, Miguel and Manuel reach a small clearing near the summit. They lay down palm leaves. They have their towels, their bottle, their full cups, their notes. They have their masks.
They're in position. They're on schedule. They're ready to ingest capsules and await the signal. Around 7 p.m., a woman named Griselda is driving near Vintém Hill with her 3 children. She stops the car.
Above the hill, they see a bright oval orange object, ringed with what looks like fire, emitting blue rays, moving up and down. It hangs over the hill for about 4 minutes. Then it disappears. But her husband goes back later. It's dark. He sees nothing.
That sounds like UFO activity. They don't tell anyone immediately. Only after the bodies are found, in the case hits the news, do they come forward with what they saw. That sighting happens at roughly the same time Miguel Manuel would have been on the hill, lying on palm leaves, mask ready, waiting for something promised in their instructions. 2 days after that, a boy hunting small animals on the hill sees the bodies and runs to tell a nearby policeman. The officer dismisses him.
On August 20th, an 18-year-old kite flyer climbs the Vintém Hill and finds them. 2 men lying side by side on a bed of palm leaves. At the very top, in formal suits and raincoats, lead masks over their eyes. It takes until the next day for police, firefighters, reporters, and curious locals to actually climb up to the site. The hill is steep. The path is rough, and they delay due to fading light and bad weather.
By the time they get there, the bodies are in advanced decomposition. Duh. August heat and humidity have done their work. Here's what they see: two bodies side by side on Pindoba palm leaves. Formal suits under newly purchased raincoats, lead masks shaped like thick sunglasses, no eye holes. Traces of blood around the mouth and nose, no signs of a struggle or obvious trauma.
And an inventory that feels intentional. The mineral water bottles almost empty, aluminum foil cups as if they'd measured a drink or dose. The packet with two towels, Manuel packed before leaving. A wedding ring tied to reading glasses, likely protected metals. A watch hidden in Miguel's clothing, even though his family insists his watch was at home. Cash, about 157,000 cruzeros, hidden in a plastic bag, and 4,000 in Wells' jacket, far less than the 2.3 plus million they took from Campos. A folded handkerchief with the initials AMS, cigarettes, matches, unused return bus tickets to Campos, squares of cellophane impregnated with an unknown substance, newspapers, notes about electronics, and a scrap of paper bearing only the word Banzai. Everything looks deliberate and ritualistic, and yet nothing looks like a classic robbery or assault scene. And the most important evidence, whatever was inside their bodies, is already slipping away.
If there's a single moment where this case truly becomes unsolvable, it's the autopsy. On August 21st, Miguel and Manuel's bodies arrive at the Niterói coroner's office. The same day, a prominent detective is murdered. His case gets priority. The forensic doctor scheduled to work that day simply does not show up.
Instead, a mortuary assistant nicknamed Manesca performs the preparation. He is not supposed to be the one doing this. Later Maneca privately tells a detective and Miguel's brother that the internal organs, the viscera that needed to go to the toxicology lab, had already rotted before they were ever tested. The office didn't have the right chemicals. Tests weren't properly done.
Eventually, the organs are discarded. This sounds like so much fuckery.
It does.
Months later, the official report is issued. It says there are no signs of violence. The cause of death is undetermined. Toxicology is impossible due to decomposition. There are signs that a toxicology report that circulated was effectively fake, and that an expert's name was erased from an early document and replaced because he refused to sign off on something he considered invalid.
The case is reopened briefly. In August 1967, a year later, the bodies are exhumed for a second examination, but they have been heavily embalmed with formaldehyde, which ruins many chemical traces. Fragments are sent to an Atomic Energy Institute. The results get lost in the mail. When they finally reach the police, they show no abnormal element levels.
The Army Engineering Institute tests the lead mass for radioactivity. None is found. By 1969, after repeated failures to get meaningful
Toxicological.
toxicological data, and with no suspect they can tie to the scene, the case is officially archived. The viscera, the chemical signatures, all the things that could have told us what was inside those capsules, gone.
Miguel and Manuel are buried. The hill is silent, and the one thread that could have narrowed this down shuts off forever. So, decades later, what are people left with?
No lab results, no cause of death, just the physical scene, the notes, the missing money, the explosions, the book about Martian disk, the Jeep story, and the UFO sighting. Out of that, several theories emerged.
This is the leading theory. Miguel and Manuel were deeply involved in spiritism and scientific spiritualism. They conducted explosive experiments and prior mass and light rituals. They owned and studied a book about intense spiritual alien luminosity. They worked with a medium who claimed spirits dictated instructions. They followed a capsule schedule leading up to the Hill visit, and they carried a detailed note telling them where to be and when to ingest capsules, protect metals, wear masks, and await a signal.
You got the next.
Okay. Under this view, they deliberately prepared for a contact experiment. Climb the hill, lie down on palm leaves, ingest capsules, shield their eyes, and wait for a blinding signal. From spirits, aliens, or something in between.
The experiment kills them. We don't know whether the dose was miscalculated, the substance was toxic, or their bodies just couldn't handle it. We don't know if they sourced the capsules themselves or receive them, but the ritual structure suggests they believed they were doing something important, not suicidal. The second major theory centers on the missing money. Nellie said Manuel left with around 2.3 million cruceros, possibly more, 161,000, is found on the bodies. That is a big gap.
Add the unresolved Jeep with 5 men, the 21-minute gap for a possible meeting, and the possibility that someone else dictated the note. And it's easy to imagine a scenario where they were lured up the hill, given capsules, robbed, and left to die. This theory struggles with certain details. No sign of a struggle or forced ingestion. Some money and valuables left behind. No identical suspects despite confessions that later collapsed.
No identified.
No identified suspects, despite confessions that later collapsed.
The scene feels more like a planned ritual than a typical robbery homicide. Because they were electronics experts and the Navy intercepted odd radio signals near their earlier beach experiment, some have suggested they were involved in clandestine radio or espionage. The codes found with their notes turned out to be TV vacuum tube model numbers. No credible link to foreign intelligence ever surfaced.
This is where the case leaps from true crime into paranormal folklore. You have the bright oval orange object with blue rays over Vintém Hill around the time they likely died, a later UFO photo captured over the same hill, men who believed in extraterrestrial civilizations and wanted contact, lead masks that could be interpreted as shields against alien light. Some researchers, including Jacques Vallée, have framed this as a failed attempt at alien contact or even a lethal encounter with some unknown phenomenon.
Skeptical voices point out that the sighting was reported after the case became news, that we have no physical evidence of any beam or ray, and that the notes focus heavily on capsules and instructions, something internal, not external. Others have suggested lightning strikes, men on a hill with metal masks in a storm, but the records don't clearly show typical lightning trauma. A journalist argued they might have been poisoned with hemlock, but with no usable toxicology and heavily embalmed bodies. That's speculation.
Existing authorities considered a joint suicide and dropped it. There's no clear motive, and details like keeping the bottle receipt, unused return tickets, and partial cash remaining don't comfortably fit a classic suicide narrative. What remains is a long list of unresolved questions. Who, if anyone, dictated the note? Who supplied the capsules? Why was the majority of their money missing? Who were the men in the Jeep? What substance was on the cellophane squares? And what exactly happened on that hill between 4:30 and 7 p.m.? We can't answer those at a lab bench anymore. All we have is story, pattern, and interpretation.
Okay, we've walked through the whole thing from the workshop to the beach explosions to the hill to the autopsy disasters and all the theories. Mom, let's talk about the piece that hit me the hardest, the instruction note, right? The 1630 be at the specified location, 1830 ingest capsules after the effect, protect metals, await signal. When you hear that, does it feel like a ritual, a checklist, or something else entirely?
Well, it feels kind of like a ritual that someone else designed. Miguel's family said that the wording didn't sound like him. That's huge to me. If someone is following instructions that don't match their normal language, I start thinking about who might have dictated it. A doctor, a spiritual leader, or a medium like LCO. So, yeah, ritual, scripted, and I think there's a strong chance it wasn't scripted by them alone.
Yeah, I'm with you. To me, that is the voice of a third person we never quite hear directly. It reads like step one, be there. Step two, ingest. Step three, protect metal. Step four, await signals, mask on. And I keep asking myself if someone you spiritually trusted handed you those steps and said, this is how you'll experience contact, would you follow them?
That's the terrifying part. When faith is involved, people will do things they'd never do just because a trusted authority says this is the path, which brings us to the capsules. Do I think they knew what they were ingesting? Honestly, I think they probably believed they were taking something like a sacred medicine or at least an enhancer, an opener, not something lethal.
Yeah, so not drink this poison, more like take this to open your mind. It didn't give that they were going up there for suicide or that they felt like this was anything other than them going to talk to the aliens, which was clearly their task.
Right, because they had their, Sunday best on. They went and bought the raincoats that they had on.
Mhm.
Plus, they had the instructions written down. And that's where responsibility lands hard on whoever supplied those capsules. If you're a medium or spiritual leader telling people to ingest a substance, lie down on a hill and wait for signals and they die, well, that's on you. Whether that's what you planned or not, at a minimum, it's reckless. At worst, it's negligent.
Right. And I lean really strongly into the experiment gone wrong camp. Okay, so I'm kind of 50-50 with it. I'm leaning towards the experiment gone wrong because everything lines up with that. Like the prior mask experiments, the book with intent about intense luminosity, the explosion, the lead pipe, the schedules, all of that. It gives that this was something that, there was an experiment that they'd done it before and it just didn't happen. I don't think they walked up there to die. I think they walked up there expecting to come back down with the story, like we saw the light or we talked to somebody. But the killers, if there are killers here, are inside of those capsules is one part of what I feel. The second part is I feel like whoever that one woman saw with the Jeep with the 5 men in it, I feel
Mhm,
like whoever the other 3 people were went up
mhm.
there with them probably all to do this experiment because they said 2 other people went with them, the 2 L's whatever, LCO and
Yeah,
then the other guy. So I
mhm,
think it was them and then they picked somebody up. And the fact that they went from the first shop where they got the raincoats and they were happy, or no, the first shop where they got the what was it? They bought something at that first shop. And the person was like, yeah, they were happy. And then they went to the second shop where they bought the raincoats and they were like, they were frustrated. That's weird. Maybe they were supposed to do something. They got into like a disagreement. They went up there. Everybody was maybe doing what they were supposed to do. And it could have been that maybe those 2 were the only ones who got like a wrong dosage of whatever drug it was that they took when they got up there and it was an accident. Or it could
mhm.
have been that they upset whoever those other 3 men were and they just acted like they were going along with the experiment and gave them more of whatever the drug was and killed them and left them and just took some of the money.
Mhm.
That's
Well,
how I feel.
that second one fits because it could be that that's why they were frustrated. Maybe they didn't know LCO had someone else coming. I
Yeah,
mean,
there
we
was gonna
don't
be an
know what
extra person.
LCO's motive was if, he was some nefarious. We don't know what money they had paid to him, what that situation was. We
Right,
have so few details that we really don't know. But I mean, none of these really, it could be deliberate if we think that LCO had some, bad intentions, but we just don't really have any proof on that.
right,
It might mean a substance that they didn't understand, they didn't understand what it was, how much to take. Maybe they took too much and it could have just been something that they shouldn't have been taking. But
yeah.
either way, we're left with this huge question. Who decided on that dose? Who decided on the substance? And who told them this is safe or necessary?
Right, right. Okay, so we're gonna circle back real quick to the missing money part because I mean that's clearly the piece that people grab onto more often for like a more classic crime narrative. But
Mhm.
does that missing cash convince you that it was a robbery, or do you think that you see a different explanation?
Well, I mean, it does make me raise my eyebrows, but if this was a robbery, if that was the point of what all of this was, why didn't they take all the money? Why just a
Right.
portion? The missing
Why
money
leave the
almost
watch on the
seems,
body?
yeah, that it could have been somebody else that passed by and didn't report that they saw the people and took it. It could have been that they made some stop in their 21 minutes that we don't know and purchased something else that they used, or that whoever walked away or whoever maybe walked away took with them.
No, I completely
So,
agree. And the fact that the first kid went and told the cop and then he dismissed him and they were up
mhm,
there for what, 2, 3 more days until
yeah,
somebody else went up there. It could have been anybody went up there in those time in that
mhm,
amount of time and just maybe they took whatever wasn't immediately on or right near the body. So what if the money was like in a bag, a little, right next to where they laid at?
mhm.
Then maybe they just grabbed this and was like, well, I mean, they're not using it.
Right. Yeah, they just
So
grabbed what was
yeah,
there, or we don't know because I mean, that scene was set up. It seemed very ritualistic with the notes and them having all the things that the instructions told them to do, but we don't know.
So if I had to assign a number, I'd say maybe like 20-30% chance that someone opportunistically took the money, like I was saying. And then maybe it could be like another 10-15% chance that the money was part of a planned exploitation, but it doesn't outweigh the ritual. The stronger way for me is that it's still on the experiment because they could have had to pay somebody else, like one of whoever, let's say they were with the three people in
Mhm,
the Jeep. Maybe they had to give somebody else extra money for whatever other part of what they
mhm.
had going on for the experiment, or it
Or
went
even
to
to purchase the
LCO.
capsules. We don't know
Yeah,
where
yeah,
when they
yeah. We
got
don't know
any
what
of
none of that
this.
is. So we have no idea.
Mhm,
Okay, but also the UFO or the light that was over the hill emotionally, I don't know about you,
mhm,
I kinda take it like, it could have been. It's very, coincidental of the timing, the place, and all of that for it
mhm.
to happen, but how seriously do you take that? Do you feel like it was a UFO? I'm gonna say that no, you don't, but do you feel like it was a UFO?
So, let's say 6 months ago, I would have said absolutely not, but my views have changed on a lot of things in that 6 months. I mean, it's very odd or it's questionable that nobody reported this UFO that they supposedly saw, but that wasn't even reported until after the bodies were found. So,
Right,
we're talking days later that was even reported. So, for me, it lends more to just some story. It got bigger as the story was told over those days. I'm sure the kid went and told his people once they didn't listen to him.
right,
And I'm sure, once they found the bodies that all kinds of things came up. I treat it more as background atmosphere than a main
right.
cause. It could have been, it could have been anything. A misidentified aircraft, a natural phenomenon, or yes, something truly strange. But without any hard physical evidence, I don't put it to the center of this case. For me, the capsules and the mask do that already.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It's kind of like the perfect spooky light for a story like this, but if you remove that sighting entirely, the case would still be deeply compelling and tragic because I mean, it's just a lot. So what the lead mass symbolize is interesting to me too. To me, they scream planned ceremony. You don't cut out masks from lead pipe, shape them like sunglasses, and carry them up a hill on a specific day that you had to spend bread to get to said hill. And then
Hmm.
like, unless you're treating it as something sacred or at least important to you, right? They kind of feel like
Hmm.
costumes for a moment they wanted to be in, not something they improvised in a panic because it doesn't seem like, hey, let's go kill ourselves last minute, but let's not forget to cut out those lead masks. Like that's
Because
off.
it's
That's out
planning
there.
way ahead.
That's out there.
Right, and they had to make these masks, so
Yes.
for them, it definitely had some meaning. It seems more like a part of a ritual,
Hmm.
but I also see blindness in them, literally and metaphorically.
Hmm.
You're shielding your eyes, trusting that someone else will guide you through an intense experience. You're choosing not to see everything around you in that moment, just what's coming, what you think is coming. It's powerful and chilling at the same time.
That yeah, it is powerful because it tells you how much faith they had in whatever it was that they were doing. But it's
Right,
also like
right.
chilling because the fact that they had all of that faith, and if it did turn out to be foul play or whatever the case is, it just you had faith in the wrong person. Okay, I'm
Mhm.
gonna take a minute to be petty, okay? Because the autopsy makes me want to scream and cuss people out and be like, "What in the hell?" Because literally, what in the hell? I don't understand
I don't understand.
how you
Oh
butched
my
all of that
goodness.
so bad. And then how do you overly formaldehyde somebody's body when you're embalming them? That's insane. That's insane.
As I was learning about that, I was ready to scream because you lost everything that we need to know what happened. There's like nothing on the outside of them that tells us anything. We
No, they
just
look
have all
completely
these
normal when they were
cryptic
found.
clues, right? And we lost the organs, the toxicology, the chance to say, okay, it was hemlock, or it was a psychedelic drug, or it was an industrial chemical. Modern now I can't speak. Modern forensic science could probably have given us a clean answer or at least narrowed it down. Instead, we're stuck in this fog because a doctor didn't show up and an assistant had to wing it. And even if if they had done the autopsy and kept the samples, we could still test those now and find
But
out what was
here's
going
my
on.
question. Here's my question. Why did the assistant have to wing it? Why didn't you just stick these men in the freezer and put their asses on ice and wait
I don't know why you had to do
for
it. I
the
don't.
actual mortician to come? Like, you knew you weren't ready for that. I think if I was in training, I'm an assistant, I'm not gonna be like, "Today's the day I'm gonna
I
cut up
got
2
it.
peo." No!
I
No,
got
I'd
it.
be like, "You know
I
what? We're gonna
watched
put
him a
them
couple
in the."
times.
A couple times. I think I took notes on the first time.
I
It don't
got
even
it.
matter. I've been here. I
I'm
work
sure
here.
there's a
You see the badge?
YouTube video
You see
somewhere
the
in
badge? Team had
1967.
you too, right. There's a TED Talk somewhere. He was tripping. He was tripping,
Right.
okay?
Definitely.
If you done this case today with proper preservation and testing, I think we'd probably know what killed them. I like to believe that we'd know, but we still might have to argue over the intent. But we wouldn't be throwing darts in the dark about the substance or like what actually happened. So just for for fun,
Shits
let's
and giggles.
for shits and giggles, let's put a percentage on your
Mhm.
positions, okay? So if I had to do a split, I would say that I'm about 80% on the experiment gone wrong, just
Mhm.
driven by faith and curiosity with someone else's instructions in the mix is what it's giving. And
Mhm.
then I would say about 20% goes for more manipulative behavior. I feel like someone knew more than they admitted, and then they maybe just that like they were exploiting the men's beliefs to get them
Mhm.
up the hill and do it. It feels like LCO, but I also don't know him or anything. But if I had to just pick a random person with no evidence and absolutely no reason, he seems guilty.
He's there. He was
He's
the only other
guilty. It
person
was
we know
him.
was
It
there.
was him or the other last guy. We're gonna
Yeah.
go with that
Yeah.
one. But
Yeah.
LCO, I don't know. I have a gut feeling about him. My
And I
insides
feel
just
like his
say
name
slimy.
sounds like
A villain or
a
like
villain from a Disney movie, doesn't it? Doesn't it?
may
It
or
does.
yeah, it does. I don't know. That's what I have.
Okay.
Sorry for all the other LCOs out there if you hear this.
No, don't be insulted. No, no insult meant. So for me, I would say 70% experiment gone wrong with reckless leadership, and 30% possibility that someone used them for money or ego or for something we don't have a name for yet. I mean, I don't see a classic murder for cash here. I see a tragedy that grew out of a dangerous blend of belief, authority, and chemistry.
I mean, yeah, because if for a classic murder for cash, I don't feel like you would take them up there
That's a
and drug
lot.
them with cellophane. Like that's a lot. I mean, if you
If
already
it's a
got them
murder
on the
case,
hill, shoot.
right. If it's a murder case, it's like a Agatha Christie style murder case because there are so
Right,
many
right.
parts that could throw that you don't know what to do.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, but before we wrap up, I want to humanize Miguel and Manuel for just a second. We've called them the lead mask victims, like that's their identity. That's what we learned them by.
Mhm.
But they were husbands, technicians, sons, friends. They had health problems they were trying to solve. They had skills and ambitions. They studied, they worked hard, they chased ideas, and in the end, their curiosity and trust put them on a hill with masks on their face, and they didn't come home.
And if someone listening is a person who loves the paranormal, loves experimenting, my plea is get guardrails. If you're mixing faith and chemistry, make sure you have medical knowledge involved. Don't take capsules handed to you by someone who can't explain exactly what's in them and what they do and what they will do to your body. Curiosity is beautiful, but it needs safety.
No, facts. And I'm sorry, but I'm one of the people, I don't even really take Tylenol. Okay, because I know what medicine can do to you. So if you're out there and you're willy nilly taking pills and you don't know what they are, if you are like I was right out of high school going into college and you're doing dumbass shit, I want to let you know that's dumbass shit. My verdict, if you force me to give one, two earnest, technically skilled men followed instructions they believe would let them await the signal from spirits, aliens, or some higher reality. That ritual involved capsules and masks, The capsules killed him. The mask waited for a light that never came. And because the key evidence literally rotted on a shelf, we'll never know exactly what they took or whether the person who told them to take it was naive, careless, or something dark.
Yeah, and if you're here with us at the table, I'd ask, okay, if you were here with us at the table, I'd ask, which bucket do you put this in? Paranormal tragedy, reckless experimentation, or exploitation of belief? There's no official answer now, just the story we have and the pieces we'll never see.
All right. But whatever you decide, just remember there are real human beings at the center of this, not characters, not archetypes. Miguel and Manuel, two men who wanted more than their world was giving them and went looking for it in the most dangerous way.
So thank you for climbing Vintém Hill with us and for sitting in a mystery that doesn't give clean closure.
Take care of your curiosity, take care of your faith, and if anyone ever hands you a capsule and says this is how you await the signal, maybe punch them in the face and run in the other direction.
Or maybe just say no.
I mean, that might work too, but I like my idea better. We'll see you next time on Coffee and Crime with Mom. Bye, co-conspirators.
Bye, guys.